I'll practice first.
Councillor Payton, can you please sort that out for me down there?
Just a backhand?
Yes, please. Oh, no, turn the camera off quick. I can turn the camera off quickly if you like.
Surreptitious jab to the knee. That's what it usually does.
Well, good morning, councillors, CEO, directors, ladies and gentlemen. The traditional custodians of the land on which we are privileged to meet the Borough people represent a human link dating back over 2,000 generations as part of one of the oldest living cultures on the planet. We pay our respects to the Indigenous elders past and present and recognise their continuing connection to our land and our community. Pleasure in declaring open the meeting of the Mackay Regional Council for today, and welcome. Now, we don't have a pastor. Oh, so sorry to the people in the public gallery. I've got to bring your attention to the live streaming of the council meetings up on the right-hand corner. And by being here today, you're giving your consent to your image and voice and comments being recorded and published. Now, our pastor hasn't turned up today, so councillors, would somebody like to lead us in prayer? Everybody's jumping in. Okay, so let us join together in asking for a blessing on this meeting of ours today, for the fact that there are people who rely on our decision making, for the fact that the compassion that we have as a council is guided, and for the fact that we are blessed to live in this land and have the privilege to be a council for the Mackay region. So we ask blessing on this meeting in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Right. We have Councillor May is absent on council business, and we have a leave of absence now for Councillor Cam. She's written in requesting a leave of absence for today's meeting. Would somebody like to move? Councillor Casey moves, Councillor Mann seconds. Those in favour? Any against? No, thank you. Any condolences? Councillor Mann.
I'm not sure whether people realise, but our long-term council family member, Kate Cotter, lost her stepson Joshua last week at the age of 26 to brain cancer. He did fight a very long battle, and Kate was with him every step of the way. He does leave behind a young wife and 2 young children, and I'd just like to pass on the condolences from the elected members and everybody from council.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mann. I was unaware of that. That's tragic. Further condolences? Okay, no further condolences. Conflicts of interest to declare. Item 11.5 is a perceived conflicts for myself, Councillor G, Councillor Mann, Councillor Payton. We will deal with that when we get to 11.5. Any further conflicts to declare? Let's move on then to the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the 26th of June that was circulated. Would somebody like to move their adoption? Councillor Mann moves, Councillor Walker seconds. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Special meeting, the budget meeting of the 26th of June. Would somebody like to move the adoption? Councillor Payton moves, Councillor Bonaventura seconds. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. We've had no notification of business arising out of those minutes. There's no mirror minutes. Let's move on then to the consideration of reports and recommendations. The draft meeting minutes of the Regional Economy Working Group. Does anybody have any questions on those minutes before we put it up? Moved by Councillor Englert, seconded by Councillor G. Councillor Englert.
Thank you, Worship. Just briefly, as the minutes briefly were discussed, the City Centre levy and the development of an action plan strategy to move forward on what we do about the City Centre and the levy in the long term. We also had a discussion about options for long distance coach stop options, but we're in talks with the Mackay Tourism about some details around what happens in other areas, and our next meeting's next month.
Thank you very much. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. So, the correspondence and officers report 11.1 is the Office of the Mayor and CEO monthly report for July. CEO.
Thank you, Worship. Good morning, everybody. I'll be pretty brief. This is for June, which is the end of last year, and we quickly get into the new year to finish. So our safety performance for the year was very solid and a significant improvement on previous years. However, we'll continue to focus heavily on this area and make sure our employees and our community go home safely every day from any interaction with council. We're working through our end of financial year results. We won't have a formal result for a little while with the external audit process and everything else, but we continue to be confident around our latest forecast of a $500,000 deficit. I'd just like to note a significant progress was made during the last year on our key, what I call core functions of business around capital delivery, asset management, risk and governance, and people and culture. And I think that's the sort of area we probably don't look at too much from the community, probably doesn't quite see what we do there, but I think we've made great progress in those areas in the last year and we'll continue to do so. And I'd just like to personally thank the Director of Capital Works. His last meeting today hasn't been with us long, even though he's a Fremantle supporter and their form has been very scratchy. We wish him and his family all the best and we hope to stay in touch. And I'd just like to thank my direct reports and our employees for what was achieved last year.
Questions for the CEO? Councillor Bonaventura.
Just more or less a comment, Your Worship, and that is basically following my questions on the renewable energy, small-scale solar. Might have been last meeting or a month ago. I was given an assurance that the majority of those solar panels would be connected by the end of June, and I have to say I'm disappointed in reading the agenda to note that there's many connections still not complete. And look, the CEO can quote all the savings he likes from other areas, but the truth is this is costing ratepayers, and I am disappointed. I'll hold off asking for further details as to the completion dates, because I note in the report it does say that they will be connected in July, but and I really do look forward to them being connected because it is costing us money.
I think as far as we know, the connections were all done and they were held up in terms of the weather that we've had, the unseasonable weather. See, you were just to comment at all?
Oh no, I agree with this. What Councillor Bonaventura, I can't remember which meeting it was, probably 6 weeks ago. So, and that's what the advice I was given is with the advice we were told by the contractors. So it's not misleading. That was the contractors what we were aimed to do. That's what we wanted to do. And regardless of reasons, there is sites that haven't been done. For example, you would have seen the panels were lifted up on this building. We were going to have, when they did the tie-down test, it was only going to be 1 in 3 connections. They needed to do it every connection. They had to get some more clips in because of the rating, and the clips weren't exactly, it's an unusual roof design. All that is excuses. Look, I think from this Friday, all physical panels are installed, and then we're working through our friends at Ergon on the connection dates, and that's been a little bit challenging in some of our areas as well. But again, that's not what we said, so I agree with Councillor Bonaventura.
Okay. Councillor Payton.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is in relation to corrective actions, which is on page 18. When you have a look, the corrective actions is averaged around at 82%. The individual management areas, one capital works was 0%, the ECI is 83%, and organisational services is at 60%. Like these numbers sort of brought the average down. I was just wondering what the reason was, for the lapse in these areas.
So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Payton. We've set a target of 95%, as you would know. It's quite a difficult target. That's what we set some time ago. It's in our strategy. I think if you looked at all our key lead and lag indicators in safety, that's the one that we continue to have a challenge to meet most months. We need to keep working through on how, when we put a corrective action in, the date that's provided and the detail of it. So some corrective actions can be simply an administrative task that could be finished in 24 hours. There's others that actually may require complete redesign of an asset. And if it's not in the budget, those detailed work's being done, that can take 12 months to actually work through the process. If it's high risk, it'll be done straight away. But if it was a medium risk or low risk, we put it through the process. So we continue to work hard on that. We do monitor it very closely. I can assure you that the ones that are probably outstanding, I'm personally probably okay that they're ones that there is a reason why they haven't been done, but we need to work through why we put in the date and set the expectation as we work through. We also don't want to have a date that just keeps getting moved to satisfy a number. That's not actually achieving anything. So it is a key focus, but you're right, it's the area that we haven't been able to meet our target. One of the only ones we haven't met our target, something we're working very heavily on.
Okay, further questions for the CEO? Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. On the Greater Whitsunday Council Mayor's meeting on the 27th of June, there was discussion on the Timber Creek native title compensation case. Does that have any relevance to us particularly? Or?
Actually, we could probably send that report around. Yes.
That was raised by the ISAC CEO, Councillor Walker. They're just basically letting us know and whether we wanted to be involved in any discussions, even though the boundary impact on us is quite low. They were just basically offering whether we want to be involved in that. It has no major impact on our LGA, but there is a little bit of crossover. So it was pretty well just letting us know.
So we could probably send that report around.
Yeah.
We'll send that report around for your information.
Right, thank you.
Councillor England.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to go back to Councillor Bonaventure's statement, just to clarify, was the lack of connections based on poor performance, unknown unknowns, or the weather?
So a little bit of all of the above, I think, Councillor England. So there was definitely the contractor committed to certain things that there is no excuse for not meeting. Then there was definitely ones where, and I think we mentioned it was one of when Councillor Bonaventure, the legislation came in where you needed an electrician to do everything. The contractor, everybody got a little bit blindsided by that. So the people they had already employed to go do it couldn't do it qualifying wise. So even though that's been appealed and everything, it's still in place. So they had to go and find local electricians, couldn't find them. So just physically didn't have the people in town to do it. And then there's a little bit of weather. So it's a little bit of everything. I think the ones that are the most critical is the ones that were in control that didn't get done. But look, at the end of the day, what Councillor Bonaventure says is right. He asked me a question and I said we were confident to get it done. That's what the advice we were given, and we didn't do that in some sites. It's not all the sites, it's a couple of sites.
Right, further questions? Somebody would like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Mann, seconded by Councillor England. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Worship. So as the report suggests, 2018-2019 was a very busy year and significant projects delivered, including the Mark and the Sugar Bowl, and along with business as usual. So no mean feat, but planning is also well underway for a number of other projects like the Resource Centre of Excellence, Northern Beaches Community Hub, PDA and mountain biking feasibility study. As always, workplace health and safety was a continued focus, and it was really good to see hazard inspections and manager safety interactions all exceeded or met targets, so that was really good. That's certainly a continued focus of Council. And there's different initiatives being trialled also in workplace health and safety, which is really good to see in a business this size. Unfortunately, it would be unrealistic to think that we could have no hazards because of the nature of the environment that we work in, and also that we have interactions with public and contractors. So, but I think as the CEO and I have discussed, if we had no hazards, then we'd be taking too much time to do too many things, and that wouldn't work either. So we're now well and truly looking forward to 2019-2020 and delivery of a very big capital budget. I wanted to make note of the key projects and initiatives from the Office of Mayor and CEO, and mostly complete or in progress, and make mention of one in particular, and that is the announcement of the Qantas Regional Flight Academy to be built in Mackay. So that's a culmination of many hundreds of hours of work by a lot of people in council and a lot of people in the community, but I would like to pay particular gratitude to the CEO and our Executive Officer David McKendry for the enormous amount of work that they put in. I don't think people realise. I mean, it took our community to get behind it as well, and any other number of stakeholders, but it's been the ultimate result, and I know that we're all very proud that they are coming here, that well and truly diversifies our community, or our economy, and that's something that this council set out to do as well. So I'd like to offer my congratulations to everybody involved.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mann. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor Bonaventura speaking for.
For the motion, Your Worship. Just, I believe it's about time to make a comment on our lost time frequency rate, injury frequency rate. Your Worship, very early in the CEO's tenure, he made a bold statement about reducing the LTIs to some ridiculously low level. It included works like, I'll state my job on it. And my initial thoughts were, he's not planning to work here for very long. While I did not record the number that he put down there, I believe it was somewhere in the 1.75 or something like that. And going on what our current position was, I thought if he achieves that, he's doing extremely well. Well, he's not only achieved that, but he's beat it. We've got a LTI efficiency frequency rate of 1.1 for the year. And look, can I, on behalf of all elected representatives, place on records our appreciation to the CEO for that and for the ability to send our workers home as safe as possible. So
Thank you very much, Councillor Bonaventura. Well said. Any other speakers? No other speakers. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Thank you. 11.2, the attendance of councillors at the 2019 Northern Alliance of Councils Conference. We're recommending that Councillor Casey is the council's delegate to attend. Are there any questions around this one? Somebody like to move the adoption? Councillor Mann moves, Councillor Walker seconds. Councillor Mann, pretty straightforward to put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. 11.3, Community and Client Services Monthly Review for June. CEO.
Thank you, Worship. Again, so just a record of the last month of the year. So the Director had one LTI for the year when the employee at the Mac received a knee injury moving a stack of chairs. That was fairly well investigated, and we've put in some mitigating factors. And while we're aiming for no injuries, of course, one for that Director for what they do is a bad effort. The Domestic and Family Violence Sticker campaign has been very successful, led by yourself and the councillors, with over 14,000 stickers issued, which is fantastic. Great to see grant writing workshops being held in July, and given the additional investment this council has decided to do for this year by an extra $300,000, that'll be hopefully well attended with some more money up for grabs. The Volunteer Expo goes from strength to strength each year and was held in June. The Matsuri youth visit to Japan actually got off to a bit of a bad start. I won't name the airline, cancelled the flight from Cairns, so they actually lost 2 days. So, but they've all been fixed and they're over there now and must be about to head back. You'll see the library's had a very good year with loans up against target, with a slight drop in in-person visits, but great to see the programs and event participation well over budget. Art Space has had a sensational year, well led by the staff over there, with basically all indicators being met or exceeded, so they've done a fantastic job over there. And it's very, very pleasing to see that the Mac had an overall attendance increase of 10% from the previous year, so it's also a great result.
Thank you very much, CEO. Questions with the CEO? Councillor Payton.
Thank you, Worship. Just got 2 questions. One's on page 56 in relation to the financial performance around the health and reg. I'm just wondering if there's a problem with filling staff in this area. There's a savings there of about $500,000 in this department. And I'm just wondering if that's having an effect on the service delivery.
CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Payton. So about 2/3 of that saving is related to unable to fill roles. There's also a long-term vacancy of 10 months due to a long-term illness that's affected that cost. Now we finally sorted the Environmental Protection Officer out. We haven't been able to fill the Environmental Health Project Officer for 12 months. So I think we're down to 85 vacancies we were last month. I haven't seen the latest figures. So there is definitely some areas of council we're struggling to fill. And in terms of the impact, we only achieved 76% of our requests responded on time and on target. Doesn't mean they weren't responded to, where we're aiming for 85. So there has been an impact. One of those roles, the protection officer role, is now filled, and And I believe the long-term illness, which has been leave without pay, we're getting to a point where hopefully that can be sorted as well. So we are struggling in that area to get some people. It's sort of one of those roles in council that is a very difficult role, local laws and environmental health. So we are struggling a little bit to get the staff. Okay, thank you.
So we're aware of that. Just one more.
Sure.
Thank you. Was finance again, I suppose, is page 85 with the advertising and PR spend. We seem to have a large increase in the spend for this month. I was just wondering what the main reasons were for this.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Payton. Very similar to last year. It doesn't look like we spend all the money in the last month to make sure they meet budget. So things like this year, we ran the SES recruitment campaign in June. From a time point of view, we try to get that out in the peak season. We do a little bit more print, TV and radio and social media around that. And also the Volunteer Expo and the RACQ Emergency Services Day happened, so there was a bit of a spend around that. And also our recruitment advertising for key some roles go into that department as well. So unfortunately, the Fremantle support have decided to leave us, so we've had to pay some money to do some recruiting. So that's where that spike is, and it's not uncommon that time of year where some of those bigger items hit. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bonaventura, did you have a question?
I did, Your Worship. Just in relation to the publicity around our grant writing workshops.
Sure.
We do need that, and being on the grants assessment, you see so many applications that don't come in sort of up to scratch. I'm just wondering what publicity was done, or how are we publicising that out to community groups or progress associations? What are we doing in relation to getting people to attend that?
Could you answer that? Or?
I can, but I think the acting director will articulate it far better than I.
So, acting director, it's over to you.
Thank you. We've done extensive social media as well as media releases, so it has been in the newspapers, and we've put it out very widely through all the community program networks as well. We've actually received great attendance so far. So registrations for the Mackay session are actually oversubscribed, so we're looking at putting on an additional one.
Right.
I've had about 50 people for that, half a dozen for Pioneer Valley, 7 for Kaylin and 12 for Serena. So they're all at expectations or above. So we still can take some more registrations if people want to register, but where we're at right now is still satisfying for the team.
So
that's very good.
It's obviously worked.
Very good.
Other questions?
Yeah, the other one is in relation to, I noticed under emergency management, there's some flood level cameras. We've received some money for some flood level cameras. And I just after some information on the cost per unit and how they went about getting those, simply for our own region in Havana, where Reliance Creek can cut people off very quickly. And it would be good if there was some way of getting that out. It's one thing that comes up continuously at Progress Association meetings out that way, on whether there could be a camera fitted to that. So not that we want one of these, but just some information would be good.
You want to take that offline, or do you want that like CEO?
So we got in total funding, Councillor, just under $85,000, and the quotes for when we put the funding application in, we got an indicative idea, and the quotes were between $15,000 and $30,000 per camera. So obviously 15 gets you something different than 30.
Yes.
So we put in the application. I've got to be honest with you, we probably thought we weren't going to get it, but we were fortunate enough to get it. So what we'll do now that the funding has been approved through the Resilience Fund for $85,000 is we'll go and break that down into how many we can do and which areas and so on now. But look, I think at least we'll get 4 or 5 out of that, hopefully.
We might put in a grant one day. Thank you, Your Worship.
What we
Thank
can
you.
do, sorry, Your Worship, is when we get the actual costs in by quotes, Councillor Bonaventura, we can share that around so we do have an idea of what one costs, because we'll go and do a little bit more work, because when we put the funding in, you do enough to see what you want, and then we got it. Now we'll go and actually get some physical quotes and actually understand what you get for certain costs.
That would be very much appreciated.
Righto. Thank you. Any further questions for the CEO? Somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Mann, seconded by Councillor Engler. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Worship. So again, this month, no LTIs in this department, which is a really outstanding result. There were some incidents, but I'm sure that the corrective actions were put in place. The CEO mentioned the Volunteer Expo, and from the feedback, there was a lot of engagement on the day, and most groups reported, I think it was between 5 and 12 people per organisation that have actually filled out forms to volunteer. So that's a really good result and certainly very beneficial for our region. It was also good to see the attendances up at MECC, so that's by 10%, which is really outstanding as well. I'd like to commend Corporate Communications on the pavilion at the show. They did another outstanding job on that, and it was very well visited, and I'm sure that everybody had the same feedback, which the displays were very relevant, and it was really good to see again. SES recruitment campaign was rolled out, and it will be really good to see the results of that. They play a vital role in our region, as we all know, so it'll be really good to see the numbers increasing there so that they can provide the response to the community in times of need. Council and Community in June was another really fantastic day. We've just started off at breakfast. I've started off with breakfast at Baker's Creek for something different, which was very well received. And while the numbers in attendance weren't huge, it was still really good to see the number of people that did come out. We visited a number of sites, including having a look at the solar site at the water treatment plant, the Paget Depot, our new laboratory, and the materials recovery facility, which is also very informational and educational part of the day for us. June also saw the big reveal of the Slade Point Water Tower mural, the large-scale mural. It was a long time coming, but we got there in the end. I was very pleased to be asked to MC the event on a very windy afternoon, so the conditions weren't perfect, but there was a lot of people attended. Social media engagement has been enormous on that. It is already on the Solo Art Trail for Australia. I believe visitation has been enormous as well, and I know the Slade Point Neighbourhood Watch Group are trying to get the publicity out that it's best to walk up the path or to view it from the Lambert's Leach Lookout, just to stop the number of cars actually visiting in that street. But it certainly has done what it was set out to do, and that was to engage, or it was Activate My Place, and it certainly has engaged the community in a very meaningful way. We also spoke to a business owner who said he's delighted, in a business owner in the Slade Point area, he said he's delighted with the number of people coming to his business on the way to view the mural. So it certainly has had a really successful result. The annual Serena Queensland Day event was held at the Serena Field of Dreams, very well attended. The public always gets behind that. It was also the opportunity to mark the first anniversary or first birthday of the Visitor Information Centre there. So that was another really good day. And that was just some highlights from a very busy month for community client services.
Thanks very much, Councillor Mann. Speaker against? Are there any other speakers? Councillor Bonaventura speaking for.
Yes, Your Worship. Just like to follow on from Councillor Mann's words in relation to Council and Community, and thank Councillors Bella and May for their Community Day in the Southern Region. Breakfast was great, a little bit chilly though, but the community catch-up, I think, that followed gave residents the opportunity to raise some issues. And Your Worship, there were some issues around drainage, which we've tried to attend to and staff are looking into, and the Deputy Mayor handled them very well in your absence, so that was good. Just another one in relation to SES, which Councillor Mann did touch on. Your Worship, it was very pleasing to read that the local controller of our SES unit has been chosen to attend, or had been chosen to attend, the QPS Senior Leaders Development course. It was even more pleasing to read that Selena completed that course top of the class. And I really do look forward to the pilot membership plan that she developed being implemented within our SES. So I think that'll be great.
Thanks very much, Councillor Bonaventura. Any other speakers? Councillor Bella speaking for.
Yes, I am. I'd like to take every possible opportunity to correct Councillor Bonaventura. The Council and Community Day in the South was not myself and Councillor May. Councillor May put forward a very good agenda for it very early on. I saw no need to in any way try and amend that. I'd like to congratulate her on that. Further to that, and adding to Councillor Bonaventura, I'd like to congratulate Selena on her performance. I've found her over the last couple of years both approachable and professional. And one thing I do admire is a reformist zeal. And I think that that a new broom has swept clean. And I think we're starting from a good solid base. And if her recruitment ideas bear fruit, we could have a very, very successful organisation in the years to come.
Thanks, Councillor Bella. Are there any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. 11.4 is the facilitating development in the Mackay region policy for Bukasia Beachside, the projects number 1. Circulated. This is submitted as per the previous policy, councillors. You might have read in the agenda item. Are there questions at all for this?
Just, Your Worship, I'm probably just worried, might be a better word, in relation to this proposal. I know it was the decision notice dates back to June 2013, but the fact that we've got so many small blocks just worries me that we're going down another Blacks Beach Cove development, and it does worry me that those sort of developments. And I know the development's approved, and
Approved development.
we can't do anything about that, but just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. Are there other questions? Or would somebody like to move then? Councillor Payton moves. Councillor Englert seconds. Councillor Payton.
Thank you, Worship. As you said, this is basically tidying off another facilitating development application. This is actually being assessed against version 4 of the policy, which was back when it was received. It's for the Bukasia Beach residential development, and there's an infill development, which is always a bonus when you're infilling without major infrastructure costs. The concession that being offered here by council is $62,000, and this will lead to an economic impact totalling $30 million. So it's very good multiplier. And also 78 jobs during construction. So this is very good use of this policy. So happy to move the motion as per officer's recommendation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Payton. Speaker against? Are there any other speakers? Councillor G. Speaking for.
Yes, Your Worship. It's good to see another development proposed development open up in the Northern Beaches. It's a variety of product. I believe it's Plantation Palms that actually piloted the smaller subdivisions out in the Northern Beaches, and Blacks Beach Cove is actually a really good spot to live. I think it's an infill development. This parcel of land's been sat vacant since Kahuna opened way back in the late 1979-ish. I used to hit the pool when I was a really young kid. One of the reasons they took the timber log from across the pool was me mucking around with a few friends.
Thank you for that information.
So I think it's a great opportunity here to create a bit of a denser population and hopefully reignite the Kahuna lifestyle that it used to be.
Thank you very much, Councillor D. Are there any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. 11.5 is once again a facilitating development policy. You're right, Councillor.
Can I just check, was Councillor Ventura for or against?
I was going to vote against, but the mayor didn't pick it up, so it's fine.
We can record your vote. I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Yeah.
You're voting against?
I vote against.
Happy to record that. The motion's carried. 11.5 is the facilitating development policy again. Now, this was laid down, you might remember previously, because of conflicts. So there are conflicts under Balcara with related party conflicts for 6 of the council. 2 of whom are not here today, but regardless, that leaves 5 councillors if we were to vacate the room. Therefore, a decision could not be made. There's no quorum with 5. So there's only 2 options really. We either this just never sees the light of day, or we do as has been indicated here in the, we'll just get it up. Has been indicated here as a resolution that as a majority of councillors that make up the quorum of the full council have informed about personal interest in this matter, the council delegates the decision to the CEO. We have done this once before, councillors, so are there any questions surrounding that? So we can't, it's quite simple, we can't make a decision if the councillors who are under Balcara have to declare an interest in this. We have to either leave it or move it to the CEO's decision. Questions? All right, well, we can as a, yes, you have a question.
No,
yeah, you're going to move. We can as a council move this. Councillor Bonaventura moves. Councillor Englert seconds. Councillor Bonaventura.
Your Worship, having read the report, I believe it's quite straightforward, and I'm quite happy to delegate responsibility to CEO to finalise this matter.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bonaventura. Are there speakers against? Any other speakers?
I'm not speaking for it.
You're speaking for it, right?
Although I disagree with the process that we have to go through, I know it's out of our hands, it's been legislated down to us, but I'm quite happy to be delegated for the CEO now.
Are there any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. 11.6 is an adoption of council policy. This has been circulated. We've had no feedback. It's pretty well straightforward. Are there questions? No questions. Would somebody like to move the adoption of the council policy? Councillor G moves. Councillor Casey seconds. Councillor G? Okay, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. All right. Well, councillors, we don't have any receipt of petitions. There's no tenders. There's no consideration of notified motions. Public participation. We don't have anybody listed for public participation either. Well, there you go. Late business. Does anybody have any late business? Councillor Casey.
Yes, thank you, Worship. I would probably suggest that some of that advertising that Councillor Payton was talking about would be for the Festival of Arts, which is on from July 20 to 28. So get in and get your tickets. Not far to go, 10 days to go. So it's always an enjoyable time. There's a magnificent program there. So get your tickets and go along to that.
You can go and make an animal tomorrow, Councillor Casey, at the workshop for Illuminate. So we trust that all councillors.
Your Worship, you see my talents in that respect. Keep it.
Is there any further late business? Councillor Bella.
As we saw over the weekend, we had considerable rain, which was a bit of a bonus in some ways, but in others, a great hindrance to the crushing. One of the incredibly pleasing aspects was that in the roadworks done recently under the new program, 70 mils of rain caused little to no impact on those gravel roads compared to, you know, what 10, 15 and 20 mils did in the past. So what our crews are doing is exceptional work. It's going to save us a lot in maintenance, but I do want to raise one issue just for public knowledge. I'm incredibly disappointed that on a road where we had a large number of complaints for a long time, and we've done this work and it's exceptional work yet again, I find dozer tracks up the middle of that road for up to 5 kilometres. You know, and especially even where that dozer could have got off on the side. And I just appeal to people, when council is doing such great work and our staff are so pleased with their work, to turn up of a morning and see that someone has disrespected an essential asset of our area in such a way, I think it's absolutely disgraceful. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bella. Any further late business? Councillor Mann.
Your Worship, I was just going to draw everybody's attention to the fact that it's NAIDOC week and the street parade is on Friday. Just encourage everybody, if they can, to take part in that. And that culminates with a family day at Queen's Park as normal. So street parade starts at 9, I think we're assembling, in McAllister Street, and then move off down to Queen's Park. So it should be a really good day again.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Bonaventura.
Your Worship, I would just like to, on behalf of councillors, thank Stuart Furness as the Director of Capital Works for his year or so with us. And I know I did give him a bit of grief early in the piece, maybe on his spelling, but more so on the fact that he would have a difficulty meeting the Capital Works budget of spending that money in that period of time due to weather conditions. I said, you come from Western Australia, not Queensland, but I've got to congratulate him on an excellent job over his period. So we wish him well in his future endeavours, and we understand he's spending a little bit more money than he was spending here. So thank you
very much, Councillor Bonaventura. And here, it's it has been an informative year and a year that has set a benchmark now for this council. And we're yet to see the final result, but I believe it's around 95%, which is light years from whence we have come. So that's that'll set this council up for a great future. So congratulations to you. Councillor Casey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yesterday, on your behalf, I attended the NAIDOC ceremony at the Murray Court. and it was very pleasant. There was good numbers there for it, and one of the best aspects was there was a young fellow that did a couple of songs, and he has also been a client of Mr. Dwyer's a couple of times, but he looks like he's on the right track, and the Murray Court's certainly going well. The other pleasing aspect was that I got out of there.
Thank you very much, Councillor Casey. Any further late business, councillors? No further late business. Councillors, we have some consideration of confidential reports. Is there any need to go into it's all pretty well straightforward, I should imagine. Okay, if there's no need to close the meeting, we'll then deal with the confidential reports by motion. 17.1, expressions of interest for a wave pool. Somebody like to move? Councillor G moves, Councillor Bonaventura seconds. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. 17.2 is the draft minutes of the Priority Development Area Advisory Committee of the 10th of June. Somebody like to move? Councillor Payton moves, Councillor Bonaventura seconds. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. 17.3, the draft audit committee meeting and action items of the 6th of June. Councillor Payton moves, Councillor Walker seconds. Those in favour? Any against? It's carried. The draft minutes under 17.4 of the Investment Kind Events Attraction Program Advisory Committee. Under 17.4, Councillor Mann moves, Councillor Casey seconds. Those in favour? Any against? It's carried. And that, councillors, is the meeting. So thank you very much for your attendance today, and thank you very much, officers and acting director. Declare the meeting closed.
Councillors, if it's all right, we might do sport and rec briefing at 11:30. Bring that one forward. Yeah, forward.